On November 17, 2025, Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal delivered a verdict that stunned not only the nation, but also sent shockwaves across the globe. The announcement was met with disbelief, anxiety, and a sense of historic gravity, as people gathered outside the courthouse and tuned in to breaking news broadcasts. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was sentenced to death in absentia, found guilty of crimes against humanity for her role in the deadly crackdown on protesters the previous year. The tribunal's decision was unprecedented, targeting a leader who had once been celebrated for her contributions to the country's development, but who now stood accused of orchestrating violence against her own people. The Supreme Court judges in Dhaka spent hours reading their 453-page judgment, emphasizing the thoroughness and depth of their investigation. Every detail was scrutinized, from eyewitness testimonies to government records, as the court sought to leave no doubt about the evidence presented. The court concluded, Hasina bore ultimate responsibility for the killing of unarmed civilians during the 2024 protests, a grave violation of human rights. The verdict cited harrowing accounts from survivors and families of victims, painting a chilling picture of state-sanctioned brutality. Hasina, now in exile in India, was not present for the verdict, raising questions about whether the sentence can ever be enforced. Her absence has fueled speculation about her future, and whether international law or diplomatic pressure could ever bring her back to face justice in Bangladesh. The trial in absentia has sparked intense debate about justice and accountability at the highest levels of government. Some see the verdict as a long overdue reckoning, while others question the fairness of trying a leader who was not present to defend herself. Prosecutors argued Hasina's government orchestrated a systematic campaign of violence against citizens exercising their right to protest. They presented evidence of coordinated police actions, mass arrests, and the use of lethal force to suppress dissent. The tribunal's decision suggests the violence was not random, but a coordinated effort from the top, implicating not just Hasina, but also her closest advisors and security officials. This verdict marks a dramatic turning point in Bangladesh's turbulent political history, raising new questions about leadership, justice, and the future of democracy in the country. The roots of Hasina's downfall can be traced directly to the powerful student-led protests that erupted in mid-2024, shaking the very foundations of Bangladesh's political landscape. University students, frustrated by years of limited opportunities, rallied against a government job quota system that overwhelmingly favored descendants of 1971 war veterans. Many saw this policy as not only unfair and discriminatory, but also as a symbol of a government out of touch with the aspirations of the younger generation. What began as peaceful campus demonstrations soon spilled into the streets of Dhaka and beyond, rapidly gaining national traction. The movement resonated deeply with frustrated youth across the country, many of whom faced soaring unemployment and felt excluded from the nation's future. The government's response was swift and forceful, deploying riot police and mobilizing pro-government activists in an attempt to suppress the growing movement. Authorities hoped to intimidate the students and restore order, but their heavy-handed tactics only escalated tensions. Tear gas, rubber bullets, and batons became a common sight on the streets, transforming what had started as peaceful protests into chaotic and violent confrontations. The images of injured students and clouds of tear gas shocked the nation and drew international attention. Instead of quelling dissent, the government's crackdown only fueled public outrage. The movement quickly broadened, drawing in people from all walks of life. Workers, teachers, and even some former government supporters who joined the students in demanding justice and reform. The killing of unarmed student protesters marked a tragic turning point. Grief and anger swept the nation, transforming calls for policy reform into a full-scale, nationwide anti-government uprising that demanded accountability at the highest levels. The public's anger, once focused on job quotas, now shifted to the government's brutal response. The crackdown became a rallying cry, uniting people against state violence and injustice. The tragic loss of life and the government's refusal to listen united the nation as never before. People from every background marched together, setting the stage for Hasina's eventual downfall and a new chapter in Bangladesh's history. News of protester deaths ignited a full-scale revolution. Demands shifted from quota reform to the resignation of Sheikh Hasina and her government. The uprising swelled as workers, professionals, and business owners joined students in the streets. Government attempts to restore order, curfews, internet blackouts, mass arrests only deepened public resolve. Daily clashes with police plunged the country into chaos, eroding Hasina's grip on power. Key institutions and political allies began to abandon her. Facing insurmountable pressure, Hasina resigned and fled to India, ending her nearly 15-year rule. The nation celebrated but was left leaderless and uncertain. An interim administration stepped in, tasked with restoring order and charting a path to democracy. The revolution had succeeded, but rebuilding Bangladesh was just beginning. The death sentence for Hasina sparked immediate and intense reactions, both within Bangladesh and across the globe. News of the verdict spread rapidly, dominating headlines and conversations everywhere. Crowds flooded Dhaka's streets, celebrating what they saw as long-awaited justice for victims of the crackdown. For many, this was a moment of vindication after years of pain and uncertainty, and the city pulsed with energy as people cheered, sang, and embraced one another. For many families, the verdict validated their struggle and loss. Some wept openly, clutching photos of loved ones lost, while others found solace in the hope that justice had finally been served. From exile, Hasina denounced the tribunal as a political sham, claiming the process was rigged by an unelected government. She insisted that the charges were fabricated to silence her and erase her legacy. She argued the trial was designed to destroy her career and dismantle the Awami League, framing herself as a victim of conspiracy. In interviews, Hasina remained defiant, vowing to continue her fight for democracy and justice. Her supporters, both in Bangladesh and abroad, echoed her claims and viewed the verdict as a grave injustice. Demonstrations erupted in major cities, with protesters demanding her release and denouncing what they called a politically motivated trial. The Awami League's grassroots base was left angry and dismayed, seeing the sentence as a dangerous precedent. Many feared it would further erode trust in the country's institutions and deepen existing rifts. Calls for protests by her followers set the stage for further confrontation. Activists began organizing rallies and marches, determined to keep Hasina's cause alive in the public eye. The verdict deepened the nation's political divisions, highlighting the challenges ahead and raising questions about the future of Bangladesh's fragile democracy. In the aftermath, Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus was appointed to lead the interim government. Renowned for his work with Grameen Bank, Yunus was seen as a neutral figure capable of uniting the fractured nation. His mandate: restore stability, pursue justice for the 2024 violence, and guide Bangladesh toward free elections. Yunus promised a new beginning, emphasizing transparent, accountable institutions and rebuilding public trust. He called the Hasina verdict vital, if insufficient justice, stressing the need for broader reform and reconciliation. The interim government prioritized accountability, launching investigations into other officials linked to the crackdown. Yunus's administration pledged to hold national elections in February 2026, aiming to return power to a democratically elected government. The transition from revolution to democracy was underway, but the path remained uncertain. One of the interim government's most controversial moves was banning the Awami League from the upcoming elections. Citing the need for accountability, the Election Commission removed the party from the official registry and barred its leaders from running. Anti-terrorism laws were invoked to prevent the party from holding rallies or public gatherings. Officials argued this was necessary to break the cycle of political violence and impunity. Critics called the ban drastic and undemocratic, warning it denied millions their right to representation. The Awami League's exclusion polarized the nation, with supporters decrying it as a political witch hunt. The fairness and inclusivity of the upcoming elections were now in question. With the Awami League sidelined, Bangladesh's political landscape is undergoing a seismic shift. Other parties, long suppressed, are now vying for power in ways unseen for over a decade. The Bangladesh Nationalist Party, BNP, once the main opposition, is poised for a comeback, campaigning on promises of democratic restoration. Jamaat-e-Islami, the largest Islamist party, is also re-entering the fray, bringing issues of religion and identity to the forefront. New parties, like the National Citizens Party, born from the protest movement, are emerging, led by student activists and civil society leaders. These groups promise good governance, meritocracy, and social justice, hoping to channel revolutionary energy into politics. The upcoming elections will test whether these new forces can reshape the nation's future. Bangladesh stands at a crossroads, with old power structures giving way to new possibilities. The Yunus government faces daunting challenges as it steers Bangladesh through transition. Human rights groups are scrutinizing mass arrests of Awami League members and alleged abuses during the restoration of order. The risk of religious extremism looms, with fears that the political vacuum could empower radical groups. Jamaat-e-Islami's resurgence raises concerns about rising intolerance and threats to minorities. Diplomatic tensions with India, Hasina's former ally and her current refuge, complicate regional relations. Economically, the country is reeling from turmoil, supply chains disrupted, investment down, and inflation rising. Yunus must restore economic confidence and address unemployment to maintain public support. The government's ability to balance justice, stability, and reform will determine the success of Bangladesh's fragile transition. Bangladesh stands at a historic crossroads, its future uncertain. The Hasina verdict closed one chapter but opened new questions about justice and legitimacy. Can the interim government deliver fair, transparent trials, or will justice be seen as political revenge? Rebuilding trust in state institutions, police, judiciary, civil service, remains a monumental task. The exclusion of the Awami League casts doubt on the inclusivity and credibility of the upcoming elections. Without broad participation, the risk of post-election instability looms large. The coming months will test whether Bangladesh can forge a new social contract based on democracy and human rights. The revolution's promise hangs in the balance as the nation struggles to move beyond its divisions toward a stable, prosperous future.